Hello friends and welcome back for episode 2 of our Dark Souls 2 Let's Play. As you can see, we're joined again with our character's face really has the kind of face only a mother could love. He's a weird guy. He's got a pink unicorn tattoo and he's off on an adventure. Well, he will be anyway. We're about to get started, but you'll have to forgive me. I made one huge fatal mistake when I was running through the first area, and I'll get right down to business and say it. I forgot I was using a stupid broken straight sword, and there was actually a weapon that I needed to go ahead and grab out of that first area. So we're just going to run back there real quick. I'll try and run directly to where I need to be to get the job done, and we will head into the first zone and see if we can do a little bit of, well, progress and leveling both at the same time. That's kind of the name of the game when it comes to Dark Souls. So it's going to be a good time. There will be a lot of that loading screen, though, I have to say. It's just part of the experience, I suppose. We'll be doing a lot of fast traveling back and forth. One of the main problems that I think I had with the game, and I don't actually remember which fog wall it is, unfortunately. But yeah, one of the main problems I had with the game is that you seem to spend an arduous amount of time sitting there kind of waiting, because you have to basically level up at that one NPC every single time. And somebody raised a really interesting point in my comments on the first episode. So if you kill that NPC, does that mean you can't level up your Estus ever again? Like, what's up with that? Because presumably you could kill that NPC. I don't see a reason why you really wouldn't be able to. So yeah, again, if you were wondering what was up with these trees when we ran past them all gung-ho like that, well, this is basically what's up with them. It's just a bunch of dudes hanging around, being wacky. There's a little signpost. That's a critical strike, which basically takes the spot of backstabs. And these little braziers, or whatever they're called, are essentially just little points that you can light to light your way to make things a little bit more, beautiful for you as you're making your way towards the many, many dark zones. Alright, good, we found a dagger. I think that's all we're going to need to hopefully get the job done. And now since I'm already up here, I may as well go ahead and open the shortcut back down so I can get back to Snuggly's crow nest, or whatever it might. It is a crow, right? Or is it a magpie? A raven? I don't know, there's a lot of, like, fluffy, big blackbirds that like shiny things. It's telling us how to switch our equipped weapon. I mean, this is all stuff we probably don't really need to get into. If you've ever played the original Dark Souls game or Demon Souls, I think you'll pretty much get the idea. There's not a whole lot changed in terms of combat. One big thing, though, that I should mention that, probably is a bit of a change is that if you choose to, and if you leave it to the defaulted option, jump is actually mapped to L3, meaning click in the left stick on a 360 controller. Which is not desirable for me. I guess it works just fine, but I still prefer the double tapping B mechanism because I'm so used to that now, having already played, hundreds of hours of the original Dark Souls. And, oh, move camera. That would be really unfortunate if we got this far and weren't able to move the camera, wouldn't it? B. So yeah, there's the crow's nest. I could probably drop that stone in there right now. Let's just see if it does anything, because I was still trying to test a theory on how this works exactly. I was told that you can basically just drop this guy. We want to leave it, not discard it, because leave means it's going to drop on the ground. And apparently if you just pick it back up... Yeah, see, they're appeased by that. They make requests. They're very happy little birds. So when we pick it back up... Oh yeah, we got an amber herb. So the stone actually is immediately, I guess transmuted is almost the right word there. So we should be able to just drop right down. Also a change to the way the controls work. Oh, I forgot there is a some kind of item up there on that ledge. Now instead of double tapping B to drop down the ladder quickly or to slide down like I just did, it's actually hold B and also press down on the control stick. The first 3 or 4 times I tried to do that on a ladder, I immediately fell to my death or took a huge amount of damage. So, just so you guys know. You may want to be a little bit careful on how you navigate ladders, which is faster. I guess we'll just run. We'll run ahead. So now we've opened up that ladder. We don't have to worry about that going forward. The other 2 or 3 fog walls are just more tutorialization. It's a little bit longer than the original tutorial, and you know what? Maybe it's about the same length. You just get the Estus a little faster in the original Dark Souls. But I guess this will give us another opportunity to have that big, beautiful vista of Majula as we come around this bend. It's a nice little moment. Look at that. Your eyes are blinded by the brilliant sun off in the distance. A very different tone from what the original Dark Souls had, which was a very somber, cold, foreboding tone. This is a little bit more maybe upbeat in its first few moments. Although if you saw the original cutscene, which again, my apologies on that. This is I'm omitting the cutscenes for copyright claim reasons for YouTube. Not that I expect that I would have any trouble, but just in case. So we're going to rest at this bonfire real quickly, and then we'll head into the first zone, which will be the Forest of the Giants, which is a very foreboding name. Forest of the something Giants, actually, I think. So we're just going to navigate this little catacomb here. There's not a whole lot to see. There's just this one chest hanging out. And then we'll go through a little loading gate, which will happen from time to time. This is a thing that I've noticed a lot in the original Dark Souls, that it wasn't quite as transparent as it is with this one particular instance, that there were times when you would basically walk through an area or go down an elevator or a lift of some kind, and essentially that was a way for them to load in some textures. The whole game is essentially streaming at all times, right? So in this case, it's kind of giving the hard drive a chance to catch up and get all those textures loaded into RAM, so that way when you walk into this area, it's not just empty, flickering polygons that are slowly fading into view. That's, I think, the reason why that gate takes so long to raise up. It's sort of like what they did with Metroid Prime, where the doors acted as loading buffers, and I think you could even occasionally see sometimes the doors didn't take quite long enough, and you would maybe see a little bit of a blurry texture or some unfinished looking stuff. That was usually why, to the best of my knowledge. So, and again, forgive me if I'm mistaken on that, but it seems very much like a fairly transparent thing that's going on there if you, look into it a little bit further. So we're just picking up all kinds of goodies here. We've got a human effigy again. That's our humanity for the sake of Dark Souls 2. By the way, I should mention, in case you guys happen to be watching the Northern Lion Let's Play of Dark Souls 2, it was a complete coincidence that both of us happened to pick bright pink hair and facial hair, and I also did eyes. I'm not sure if he did that. And of course the titular unicorn tattoo, a very important part of any young lad's life. Coming to terms with his age and fighting through the demons. I don't know where I'm going with this. So let's start to fight some stuff. We've got this hollow here. We're going to see a lot of hollows like this. He's a pretty standard dude. We're going to run into a lot. And they have these like kind of Spanish conquistador-looking helmets on. And this is going to bring us to an important point, and one that I'm really hoping I won't have to belabor throughout this Let's Play, and that is that after I spend, I think it's about 10 runs through an area, after I kill any specific enemy or any specific boss, or, well, not boss, I guess, but any instance of an enemy, I think it's around 10 times or so, that enemy will cease to spawn forever. So there is absolutely no more of that enemy. You can use that to your advantage on occasion. You can use that to clear out an area that's particularly frustrating to you. Or you might just end up using it just as it ends up sort of using you as an anti-grinding buffer. And I'm not sure quite which way the developers chose to make that happen. I sort of would like to believe that it's probably more of the latter and less of the former, but, could be either one. And I know I've used it to get through some difficult situations and scenarios as we've gotten further into the game. There's actually another bonfire that I've ran right past. And this is sort of, I guess, the game's first way of telling you, like, here's some souls, enjoy. Not a particularly stressful or difficult spot, really. The only thing you have to worry about there is aggroing too many guys all at once. Getting that archer to focus his attentions on you, that's probably not desirable. Alright, so there we go. We've got another bonfire. We'll rest at that bonfire, we'll respawn the enemies, and we will refill our health bar. We do still have our 2 Estises, or Esti, Estes, whatever you want to call them. We've got them. As well as a couple of life gems. See, this is where things could get a little hairy if this dude shows up at the same exact moment as these other ones, and I don't quite have enough stamina to wade my way through all of the stuff that's coming at me all at the same time. And that will be a thing as we make our way into the very next room, or the next environment, I guess we'll call it, for lack of better terms. So we've got to watch out for getting mobbed. One thing that I think a lot of people that have played the game have expressed so far, and my sample set for this is incredibly small, basically consisting of like Josh, Ryan, and 1 or 2 other people that we've randomly talked to in the course of our journey so far, have all kind of agreed that it seems like there's a lot more enemies in Dark Souls 2, and your way of dealing with that, I guess, will vary from person to person. My way of dealing with that is to get lots and lots of armor. Oh, that dude comes awake, right? Forgot about him. Get lots of armor and tank lots of hits. Probably not the best way. It's weird that I'm using this dagger. I'm hoping that I'm going to get a better sword very, very quickly, and if I don't, well, I can always just buy one There's actually that vendor still in town. I think all I need is about 1,000 souls, so I should be pretty much all the way to that. Very, very important to get a nice weapon right at the beginning if you can, or at least something that you feel fairly comfortable with the moveset of. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself floundering a lot, and floundering is basically the thing that's going to get you killed just about every single time in Dark Souls. There's a lot of things, obviously, that the game is, designed to kill you with, but one of those things is just throwing sheer numbers of enemies and situations that require a good amount of attention. See, this is an awkward spot for me right now because I obviously want to do some Estusing, and if I stop, well, I'm going to get into some trouble as these guys start to surround me. So this is basically exactly what I talked about. What you'd want to do here, if you can, is not that at all, actually. You kind of want to use some tactics, and those tactics would usually include things like using choke points in the environment, running to positions where maybe you're safe. This is kind of the opposite of that, to be perfectly honest, because these guys are all going to follow me up the ladder, and when I get to the top of the ladder, there's actually 2 more hollows up here, so we're going to Estus again. Hopefully we can get through this scenario. I guess we could use the ladder sort of like a choke point that way, but I got to make sure my stamina regens fast enough, otherwise this isn't going to quite work. And, oh, we got one more coming. Hopefully the guys up the stairs don't aggro and come down for me. This is all stuff that, thankfully, I can make these sort of predictive movements and utilize my environment a little bit more effectively because I already know my way around here very well. If you were not in that position, chances are you probably would have run ahead, and that would have been an early death. In fact, it is pretty likely that I figured I was about to die right then. This guy right here, he's kind of daunting at first, but once you have a little bit of experience behind you and a little bit of a better weapon than this dagger, I think it should not be too crazy to try and take him on. I don't actually remember what he drops, but I don't remember being completely awestruck by whatever it was. So we've got about 1,000 souls now, which means that we should probably go ahead and go guarantee ourselves a little bit of a better defense. I think it would be a good idea. I play kind of slowly and meticulously, so I have to apologize in advance if anybody is kind of turned off to that concept. If you're the type of person that likes to run ahead and run through everything using what we've now coined to be lion strats, or lion rule, whatever we were calling it. We basically just run through every area, just make the quickest progress you can, let the dudes pile up behind you, sort them out later, and just try and live. That's kind of the opposite of my technique. I often tend to clear out a room slowly, kill everything in that room most of the time, try and get every single item that I can find in that room, and just make my way forward little by little. But, at the beginning, it's baby steps. You've got to get your character to some, base level of competency before it's easy to just throw yourself into positions like that. Because with basically no armor and a crappy shield and a little dagger, any situation that I run into is pretty much just going to get me killed. There's not a lot of ways around it. Life gem. Alright, so I'm building up a nice little collection of life gems. Later on in the game, you find you'll end up having 30 or 40 of them at most of the times. Which is good. You kind of want to have that buffer in case you find yourself in a position where maybe you can't regen life easily, and you want to have something to get you through a tough situation. So let's see what he has for sale. Oh, he's got armor and shields. Right, no swords here. Alright, so we're going to have to actually worry about swords later, I suppose. The blacksmith does not have access to his home yet. I know for a fact he's got stuff. Other than him, well, there's the ring vendor there. And that's about it for now. So yeah, that actually wasn't all that practical. I know right where the key is that we're going to get to open up his house. But it's a little bit of a jaunt to get there, I won't lie. We're just going to travel one more time back to where we just were and continue the path onward. I guess I could probably have leveled just then, couldn't I have? Oh well. Let's just hope that if I die, I can go back and pick up my souls again. We'll keep a nice running tally. And let's do a little bit more work here. There may be a few episodes that end with me just like, oh, well, we didn't really do a whole lot, but we'll level. So that's something, right? There we go. Get a little bit of a backstabberooski there. That works. It's a viable strategy. I imagine it's not that difficult or that impractical to play a character that is primarily very quick, very dexterous. If you'll pardon me using dex that way, there's a lot of opportunity to be sneaky and run around and try and trick your foes in various ways. In fact, some of the environments later on really encourage you to utilize them to dispatch foes in situations where things might be a little bit stacked against you. There are actually some, well, I can think of a specific spot later on where there's actually a guillotine set up in the middle of a path that you have to go on. And the idea is you actually have to count out up to 12 1000 one at a time, and then hopefully if you time it just right, you'll walk a big ol' enemy right underneath that guillotine, and he'll just, he'll get chopped, and that'll be the end of him. So there's some creative things. There's a lot of environmental hazards later on, and again, things with resistances come into play fairly regularly. Let's dispatch these guys one more time, and not like that exactly. I did it kind of wrong before, and now I'm probably going to do it even more wrong this time. Alright, alright, that actually worked alright. Let's keep that kind of momentum going forward. Whenever people show up in piles, try and hit them all at the same time. That works pretty nicely. Get them stunned when possible. So we just got a couple of pieces of armor there. I'm actually under siege by an archer who is going to be up on the top there. You can actually see him. So if I could stand in the right spot, let's see if whatever I just picked up is better. I don't think it is going to be, but yeah, no, it's not. So I've actually got okay armor to start out. I guess that's something. So we'll go in this root area. Oh, well, no, can't forget about this guy. To get my stamina back. I made the mistake of running, thinking that there weren't any more enemies left, and you gotta use stamina management pretty much all the time. Whenever you find yourself out of stamina, that's usually the second when the game is going to reward you for that poor choice with fighting a dude or 2 or 5. Like I said, there's a lot of guys that you have to run into. So there's an enemy there. I can choose to go around this situation, but there will be an enemy here as well. So, not too big of a surprise for me, thankfully. Oh, excuse me, I hit that wall. Gotta be a little careful with how I navigate attacking, and I also have to be very cognizant of the amount of damage that my weapon has sustained at any given moment. You may notice on my crossbar down in the bottom left corner of the UI that my dagger is actually very, very low in the red, and it actually has just said dagger at risk. In about 2 or 3 more swings, my dagger is going to go from being a thing to not a thing, and that is the moment when all of a sudden I find I'm going to have to pay a bunch of money to a blacksmith to repair it. And since I don't actually have the luxury of a blacksmith at this point, well, I've got to kind of make do with whatever I can find, right? So let's use some more broken straight swords, and we'll keep that myth alive that that's a useful item. So there's a wood bolt times 20. That would be useful if I had some sort of a crossbow. I don't yet. Check the wall next to me, make sure there's not an enemy. That guy's got a big old sword, and he's probably going to spell my death, unfortunately, because I do not have full block on my shield, so I didn't really have a lot I could do there other than try and dodge roll out of the way. And now we find ourselves in the omnipresent predicament that is Dark Souls in a nutshell. How did I get into this nutshell? Well, I died in an inconvenient place. So what I should have done is died in a place that was a little bit more accessible. Because what this means now is, if I run back, I can rescue my souls, I can grab that 1700 back, and perhaps use that to level up my character a little bit, give myself some sort of a bonus, one way or the other. But if I die again on the way there, all of those souls will be lost. And then we find ourselves in this conundrum of diminishing returns, which is one of the big things I've had questioning through my head through the whole time I've been playing this. What if you find yourself in a position where every possible conceivable thing goes wrong in your game, and not only do you lose enough times that you pretty much lose all your souls, but you end up grinding through a lot of the stuff in the beginning really badly, then end up making a big mistake, losing those souls, then you can't level up, and then there's really nothing you can do, because every time you die, you're going to have a little bit less in terms of a health bar, so you've actually found yourself at 50% health, you don't have a lot of souls to get anywhere out of that predicament, and you may even run out of all of your basically your humanity, or your human effigies in this case. So what happens to a player then? Do you just quit and start over? Hopefully you're not going to be that bad, and hopefully I'm not going to be that bad. But I just wonder about the gameplay construction ideology that led to the developers thinking that, like, we should probably punish the player for dying by making it harder for the next time to make sure that they will probably die more. Like, how do you quite get to that concept? I don't really understand it. I mean, you want to make the game challenging. I don't doubt that that's a concept that we should probably embrace. But there seems to be... Oh, I love his hair is like day glow in the dark. That's really exciting. But there seems like there should be sort of a statute of limitations to that in a way. Where if you find yourself creating the game in a way that seems to be punishing in more than a way than it is rewarding, that seems like a bad idea. But that's maybe just me, my crazy... daydreaming ideology. Nah, it's probably a really bad thing. Okay, well, that was almost the end of that. Where can I run? Well, not into that hole. That would have been my death. think I have enough time to Estus here. Oh, nope. All right, so there goes the 1,700 souls. Funny that we should happen to get to this point right now, because basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, that's episode 2, and this is the kind of futility that we can expect from many episodes going forward. This is, I'm not saying this to try and be dismal or fatalistic or anything like that. I just wanted to kind of give you, anyone that is not super familiar with the game, a little bit of a taste of the early game without getting too far in, and also for anybody that might not be super familiar with Dark Souls on the whole, sort of a taste of why this is a very punishing and difficult endeavor in general. And now that I've gotten like 45 hours into the game, this is kind of hilarious that I'm dying in the very first zone despite knowing better in just about every possible way. I mean, I really do know better, so it's silly. Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention, and this is like a really big thing that I forgot to mention, every time you rest at a bonfire, the durability is reset on your dagger or whatever, as long as it doesn't break. Then you don't get it back. If it breaks, you got to repair it at the blacksmith, like I mentioned. But since it did not break, and since I switched to a different weapon, things are going to be just fine, except the fact that I just lost those souls. But 1,700 souls in the scheme of things sounds like a lot at the beginning when you don't really have anything to pad you. But there's enough consumable souls that even if you lost all your souls, I guess you'd probably still make it through to some degree. And I think that's how they kind of justify that conundrum that I was expressing a moment ago. There's always, as long as you make a little bit of progress, whether that be running through areas, which is actually, you know what, maybe I'll just do that. Let's lion strat through this first area here. See if we can just get back to... It would be great if I could just get to one more bonfire then. I wanted to end the episode right there, but I think that's probably also a bad idea. Also, you can hit B to run up ladders now, which is pretty cool. And since I lost all those souls, I really don't feel bad about running past everyone. The only thing that I worry about is that they're all going to pile up behind me. But provided I still run reasonably quickly and don't run into a bottleneck, I should be able to move on a little bit faster. There's not really a whole lot working against me. Oh, well, see, this could be a problem right here. This is why you generally don't do this strategy, because then you end up with this situation, and yeah, that's how it goes. So yeah, I'm going to wrap up the episode for here, for this point, so let me know how silly this was to you, if you found this entertaining. I will certainly redouble my efforts, and not likely to see this situation happen too many times at the beginning. What it's going to happen, though, is it's going to be during really scary boss fights, and I'm going to die like 50 times. So when we get to that point, we'll decide on how exactly we're going to deal with that strategy, whether that be do some editing, maybe you might want to see me just kind of settle in and just accept the futility of life and death at the hands of the Dark Souls gods. There's this, honestly, the first boss I expect I'm probably going to die a ton of times to. It was probably one of the most stuck I've been in any of my Dark Souls encounters. I think I spent about 3 hours on it the very first time. Granted, I was rather under-equipped, but I think I'm going to be under-equipped again if this has been any indication. Now I'm sort of wondering if maybe this wasn't the wrong choice again for the class, but you know, we'll see how it goes. Let me know what you're thinking. I'd love to hear from you in the comments, and thank you, of course, for the support. So I will catch you next time. I hope you have a lovely night.